Recent studies on media and its effects has explored socio-psychological reasons for how and why people consume particular media. One that has been of considerable interest is the two-factor model, which states that there are two motivations for the consumption of media entertainment. The first is that people consume media as a way to relax, enjoy, and escape from the everyday reality. The second is through what is called the Eudaimonic entertainment experience, an experiential state that is characterized by the perception of deeper meaning, the feeling of being moved, and the motivation to elaborate on thoughts and feelings inspired by the experience. Anyone who has watched a feature film that portrays narratives about the human condition, such as disease, suffering, loss, as well as human virtues such as kindness, helpfulness, love, and connection, may have gone through this experience. However, what one person may find as meaningful in a story may not resonate with another person. Meaning can be defined as something that has importance or value, an expression or representation of something deeper. This video essay explores the Eudaimonic entertainment experience through the perspective of 5 people from different parts of the world and their favorite meaningful films.
So Moneyball was based on a true story inspired by Oakland Athletics, a small budgeted team. They don't have a lot of money to buy talents, but they were still trying to find a way to survive in the major league. So they hired someone who graduated from Yale economics, and he had a specific set of skills. He created a metric to value players, and he believed that he could use that metric to build a winning team without spending a tons of money. The team didn't perform well in the first half of the season because the team manager didn't believe in his analytics. But the second half of the season, the general manager reinforced the idea of his analytics, and then the team had a 22 games winning streak.
The film follows the general manager's struggle to take his flawed team to the end of the sports season with an objective to win the championship series and rise as victorious, despite the flaws. Another film that has a similar objective is the animated drama comedy Kung Fu Panda. Po, a panda who lives a simple life working in a noodle shop, is chosen to be the dragon warrior whose ultimate purpose is to revolutionize Kung Fu. However, it is easy to see that he's not your typical Kung Fu warrior.
He was the least expected person to be chosen, not to save the day, by Master Shifu. He showed no promise, he had no potential, but somehow he was chosen, and somehow he powered through. He just used to work hard. Like, he'd train, he'd give his best, he'd show up. So I love that. I love that about Po, because it showed you can be ordinary, but you can still do great stuff. Just show up, do your thing.
Even though Po started out as the least likely person to fit the role, at the end of the movie, he ends up saving his village from a tyrannical and power-hungry snow leopard, challenging the preconceived idea of his limited potential. This idea is further symbolized by the dragon scroll, a secret scroll that would only be read by the chosen one.
And there was also another part in the movie when they were fighting to get like magic scroll and see the words that were written in the magic scroll to give them superpowers. When they got it and they found out it was empty, it had nothing. It was just a reflection of the person looking at it. So the magicness was whoever that person was.
Both these films are what would be considered as underdog narratives, a narrative that emphasizes the weak, small, or unimpressive characters overcoming challenges of all sorts in the face of immense pressure, with the odds against them. In Moneyball, the Oakland Athletics win 20 games in a row despite having no money to buy talent, and in Kung Fu Panda, Po defeats Tai Lung and steps into the Dragon Warrior role. So how are these films meaningful?
If you look at me as a person, how I work, how I do my things, I'm average. But when I put my mind to it and when I work hard and I give my all, I see good results.
In the sports world, people are always thinking about talent. The truth is, talents are limited, and if you're not born to be the top talent, you're not. But to win the games, it's not all about talent. It's about who knows the game better. And in that movie, Peter knows that, in order to win, we need to have players who can get on the base. Right? It's not about who can hit home runs. It's not about who are the biggest stars. All you have to do is to be a team player to win the game. Look at me, I'm not even a professional athlete, but I work for a professional basketball team, baseball teams, because I know the game. I can do something to help this team win and make money.
Where some films emphasize on conquering the unattainable, others highlight the connections between people and the society. The ubiquitous theme of love is a complex emotion, one that is used in many stories as far as history goes, within romantic relationships, family, or community. In the film The Greatest Showman, love is tested through loyalty, endurance, and disappointments.
Quite a lot of fabrication about the man who set up the first circuses. It's his love story with his wife. This is somebody who he's known since he was a young boy, and then they grow up and they get married. Because her father doesn't approve of it, her father is very wealthy, so they end up living in quite a lot of poverty. She follows him anyway, and then he builds up the circus and finds all the sort of outcast people and creates this amazing show. Then his eyes get turned slightly by the singer, and whether it's her or whether it's the thought of fame that turns his head, I'm not quite sure really. He sort of wanders a wee bit away from his wife and family, and there is a big fire and the whole place burns down, and yet at the end they all sort of get together, and they, because of their sort of support for each other, the show will go on.
This story shows the birth of a poor man's dreams, his love for his wife and family, and the dedicated passion for his circus. The narrative goes through emotional flows, portraying how fame and success may overshadow what matters most.
At the very end, when he's feeling very sorry for himself and he's in the bar, and then all the people in his show come to the bar and they do this amazing dance. And I don't know why, it just is a very joyful moment, partly because they're all in support of him, and partly because of the song and the dancing. And just his realization that actually what is important, and he's going to go back and find it.
There is a need within the human condition to love and feel loved. Despite the superficial treasures and lust for money and fame, ultimately, the love for family becomes the most important thing in The Greatest Showman. The Life of Pi follows the journey of a boy who gets stuck on sea after a storm sinks his ship and kills his family. He quickly realizes that he is not the only one that survived the storm and discovers a tiger hidden within the shared lifeboat. The boy and the tiger must learn to trust each other to survive, and it is with this relationship that the narrative builds on death, loss, and empathy.
The scenes that I love the most is when he finally gets to land. The tiger comes off the boat and he just stares at this kid for a minute and walks into the jungle and disappears. And he's like trying to manage his feelings, like, hey, you know what? You lived with me through all this painful life, when we were in the boat, when we were in the life island that we almost died, and so many things that they live. And, you were alive because of me, and also I'm alive because of you. But when he just finally gets to land, he's like, well, I'm gonna go, and that's it.
This scene describes the complexities of letting go. Pi lives through a traumatizing shipwreck that kills his family, leaving him stranded on a lifeboat with a tiger, who is the only thing reminding him of the family that he had and his home. So when Richard Parker leaves so unceremoniously, it breaks Pi's heart. The only thing left to do is experience his grief and find a way to move on.
I think we all have felt lost in our hearts or in any situation of our lives that we actually don't know what to do or how to deal with our situations. I don't know, for example, when grandfather died, that was a lot of years ago. It was so hard for me to digest everything that it was going on, because my grandfather was like a father to me. I mean, he raised me, and when I lost him, I just couldn't process anything anymore. Just like in the life of Pyre at the beginning, he was like, what should I do now? But then he just kept fighting because of the life of others, and mostly because he needed to tell this story also. One that I really, really love is Into the Wild, which is about a guy who's from a pretty well-off family, who's just finished university, is pretty sick of kind of society and all the material pressure, and he runs away. Basically ends up going on like a 2-year-long backpacking trip, I guess you would call it. Lives just from the money he has in his pocket, works a little bit, travels around, kind of goes everywhere, but goes kayaking down the river, crosses the border to Mexico. Eventually he goes on his kind of final big journey, which is to go into the bush in Alaska and just live off the land. There's a scene where he meets up with the old couple, and lady in the couple and they get pretty close. Like, they talk about, there's all sorts of stuff, but she shares with him that her son kind of ran away from home as well. So she feels really connected to him because she kind of looks at him as the son that ran away from her. And they have this moment where she talks about just kind of trying to get a sense of why he left home, and then he's explaining kind of his thought process behind it. The husband in the relationship goes and talks to him and explains that her son ran away, and you kind of get like, I don't know, it's almost that sense where you realize how broad someone else's life can be as well. Like, you talk to them and you think that their life evolves around this and this and this, and then you get an insight into how much is happening in their life in reality.
Hey guys.
They found written kind of notes in his diary, but he was planning on going back to civilization, and then he ended up eating some sort of poisonous plant or berry, so he didn't make it back. But a lot of kind of his words and the stuff that he discovered was found after that.
The diary writings of Christopher McCandless are a testament to living life outside of the norm, seeking truth, even if it leads you to the wilderness. That beauty is not made but found in the exploration of the earth, and sometimes the people we meet on the way are more connected to us than we think. At the end of these films, we can see that different parts of the human condition are exposed to the audience through the artful way of storytelling, allowing us to absorb their struggle to overcome the odds.
Ordinariness, everydayness, is not an impediment.
Or to live a life of wanderlust and adventure, seeking truth.
Just strengthen my wish to live my life in, like, according to my own terms, and kind of live it full out.
Or to choose to go back to the things that matter most in our lives.
We all have a choice all the time about everything we do, about how we treat people, about the decisions that we make, for good or for bad, even if we don't actually recognize it at that point.
It may be that there's a bigger purpose to tragedy, a learning lesson, an opportunity to see the silver lining and inspire some hope into people.
Eventually, I think we are in this earth, in this world, to leave something, and at least a mark on somebody else, or a mark in the world.
And perhaps it can all be summarized as three things:
love, time, and death. Because that's all we value, right?